Private Living, Saquarema City, Rio de Janeiro, Federative Unity, Brazil. I'm, with my mood at the bagger, revolutionary bagger on. I was sleeping, doing nothing, scratch my balls, have my gym time, but unfortunately I have to present the financial research at the antitrust justice considering efforts before, at least since 2014, very troubled in the way I live and do my thing, especially the self-determination, which implies do not accept the corruption as something regular or the drug use as a way to pursue the happiness, and the prostitution the kind of love you deserve. The model today we have this, and we will have in mind that these three elements, three drivers, the corruption for sure and the criminal scams, leads to the international corruption by pleasure and hedonism based on drug dependence, prostitution, and the corruption which corrupt your sense about love, your perception about happiness, and the existence become a disgrace. We have this idea before that is the farm is like the porn industry, is segmented. Horses with horses, you will have horses. Horses with donkeys, you will have a mule or something like this. Here is the area that is inside our model, which was the Heckscher oil model as the free zone. We could observe this before. This area here is that area here, considering the intersection. We observed this during the period at the problems on Europe struggles. We will have in mind that the idea as pool scam goes in general. It's a financial operation regular as anyone else, any other financial operation, since you respect the law and have the legal accomplishment. You are forced to do, you have to do this, especially if you are a bank or a financial player, you have this need. If you do not observe, you probably will have problems. It's the treasury or something. We have transference with storages and the redistribution. The going as a legal thing in general go as a clandestine transference with clandestine storage and distribution to players with redistributions that will buy things inside these scams, and little by little the options will be limited. Can happen at the showbiz, can happen at the sports player, the entertainment, whatever. And as you can observe, you will have at the very first moment, which is the source of these groups here that is very large doing the payment at this. You will observe that in general they are linked with the diverted resources treasury, with ranking, preference and hierarchical distribution about the capacity to cover the credit. Real money, credit, hot and credit. And if they are linked here, and here you have portfolio in general can be the big stars at the event, that this will be the event, the redistribution as option by big stars. This can be the sports scheduled event like FIFA, and the match that you have with the offer as tickets to be at the game. And now it's having big source of money. The transference in general go by budget, and here in this case always by budget with a bank. And in this case as minor, you have nowadays the digital payments and ways to avoid this and have the micro storage of a large number of players doing this kind of payments as digital banks, digital transfers, not going through the bank system. You sometimes use even the batch system, or the compensation as requirement. They were creative to do things in illicit ways, but all illegal things made had no guarantee as protection or legal protection. In the same way, there are no prerogative to support this, do this, or have the planning about something that is totally legal. You are outlining in all ways. This is the idea we could have as big stars. You have the driver alpha, you have the follower second place beta, the entrance, and the estimative will be at the entrance because this guy here kind of achieved something that they need, and if you would like to have the catching up, you will kick like this, observing which is the ways to achieve the establishment at the situation that you could have. This model we have before, we will raise today, thank God. New tracer, we have the division as a conjuncture, and inside this conjuncture you have geopolitical distribution of power. If it goes as a least purpose, it is the least distribution of criminal power. By the misusage of institutions and prerogatives, there are no guarantee to be like this, to operate like this, to have the result like this. It suggested prison 6 up to 20 in the United States. If this new trace or any other industrial project portfolio a self-defense and an independent way was offered, and they are kind of having the outlook about the value. If the value exists, of course the America can claim their right as compensation or something like this based on violations suffered in my private space, my private living, my personality, the way I'm trying to exist, not getting along with things that create and have the keep the misperception about the reality. The use of drugs is not the way to persuade happiness. In the same way, prostitution is not love, and the corruption or nepotism it's not the best way to achieve the chair or to achieve, the work you desire. It's they are all criminal ways. Your corruption as the premise of professional life, your professional life is a fraud. It's based on corruption. If the prostitution sets your marriage, in general, your marriage was made based on something that is illegal. It's not about love, it's about crime, and it's a fraud. And in the same way, if you consider that the drug use is the reason to your existence, you must, try the psychiatry or something like this because you have a mental problem. And all this combined in a make decision level as institutional level, of course, that will create a big problem. And all institutions on West, on East, on Asia, Central America, all continents are having this. And this as something kind of the main driver as engineer. Of course, that will help ourselves to get the engineer as transnational organized crime based on the local crime and the interaction of two both in a very specific moment will set some kind of conflict of interest because you know you can be and present yourself kind of with two criminal groups and purpose because in general the criminal arena is based on higher level as I would say competitive purpose, so competitive that sometimes they kill each other. They are kind of in a struggle all the time for space because you can't have the criminal activity freely. You have limited areas happening this and it's always illegal. And when you are like this in a situation that is having the conflict of interest between the criminal organization that in some way you belong by corruption, by nepotism, or whatever, and the transnational organized crime that had scheduled events on it, and you consider that you can take advantage of this by yourself, you maybe will be in a situation name it governance, risk, and compliance, name it conflict of interest, but it's the conflict of interest based on something illegal. In general, you can claim this at the court because it's something illegal. But you know, you will observe that the explicit level of this will be something legal, and we will help some way the court to understand the drivers, the ways, and the elements we have if we're doing a financial analysis to the antitrust justice. We'll kick today like this. First of all, we will observe that we have our continents. I think that we have five continents as Europe, North America, South America, Oceania, and Asia, something like this. They all having failures that points to the institutional coalition based on value qualified as -1, which is the corruption. They are all equally failure. The integration of all these will set something, terrible. That is the interaction of criminal purpose by institutional failure in an international way. It's named transnational organized crime with a square, a circle, 1, 2, up to 3, 4, and 5. This is the first range as activity that we will have. And it's something so huge that you can't hide anymore. And you must have only one to get all this. And to get all this based in only one, it means that the index must be an index walking through this circle as the common interval between them all. If we consider the liquidity money curve and the investment saving curve, the investment saving curve brings the artists, the players, the big stars, and with the time and space points to an even. But if we decided to swap the perception about this having the liquidity money curve, we will have the relation one more time as debit and credit, and we will carry with our sense at this financial research the relation between debt and credit that goes as a circle of trust. This is my credit, my credit. The credit I open to someone else is a debit at the same time opened against me. That goes like this because this must be covered. And if I transfer this as credit to be covered by my resources, of course that I must do this by an interface. In general is the budget. But we could observe that they are equal. It's the same measurement at this relation between debits and credit because you have and must have the responsibility about the transference you do. And when you do the overpriced contract, which was an issue at the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the 80s, in the 90s, and even on present time, consider that even on 2028, the size of this will have kind of failures. And it will be a not perfect or a not orthodox transference of your capacity to have the money in a liquid way to cover the things you did. And in general, the artist will say, and the big star, the sports player will work by estimative. And you can track the estimative as something that they will call as value, that they will deliver. But you can ask information based on budget and contract signed with names to observe how this failures that puts your orthodox relation between debit and credit became something so dangerous, creating the systemic risk as the lack of capacity to cover the have the accomplishment as coverage of the credit as transference because it must be covered some way, and we observed this at the covenant thing that a lot of legal business had lost and couldn't operate anymore because they lost their fixed asset as capacity. Here indeed are our bubbles to research based on the elastic, I would say, the extended transference of credit leading to the values promised by elements at the investment saving curve, the credit, the debit, the credit I opened to someone else as the debit that will be at my accountability until someone else give me my history. Then I will have the this player. If they didn't give me this as expectation or something, they will have the debit. I would say, you know, quite simple to get. And if they are holding a debt and the credit I open it to them only will become the credit as income after they receive the money, it means that in some way who opens the credit has more information about the capacity of coverage, and then you will have the hearing procedure at first with variables that is holding the debit as the credit opener by a contract which has this, let's suppose, big star or sport player with the debit open because they can charge this. But they will charge this kind of like this compensation. For instance, we must research this because we don't have enough information about the capacity of coverage, especially when fake records and a lot of things. We'll finish this part here and move forward.